Greetings, everyone. Welcome. We're so glad you're here joining us at American University virtually. This is our first Eco-Family webinar series event for the academic year 2025-26. My name is Samantha Caruth. I am the Associate Director for Family Engagement, and I'm joined this evening by some of my wonderful colleagues on the student engagement team. We represent several teams, and I'm going to allow them to share with you what their amazing teams and departments do for your students, your Eagles. We have a lot to share today. We're going to cover three big topics. And I want to share that this is the first of two student engagement webinars. In a couple of weeks, we'll have our second part with three other departments presenting. But we are recording so that you can come back and listen, think about sharing with your student, share with a friend or neighbor, and know that, though your student is not at home with you, that a lot is happening here on campus, and some of these amazing professionals are here to share with you what they do with students every day. So with that, I'm going to kick off to our first presenter, Chaplain Eric Doolittle from Case Spiritual Life Center. And I will allow our other presenters to introduce themselves when it's their section. What we'll do is invite you to put questions related to the presenters' information while we're having conversation. Feel free to drop those into the chat or the Q&A section. And what we'll do is leave time at the end for our amazing presenters to respond to them, some of those questions live. So I think that we can do it. We're glad you're all here today. With that, I will pause and hand off to Chaplain Eric.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And let me bring up my slides here so we can talk a little bit about K Spiritual Life Center. Great. Think everybody can see that? Fantastic. So K Spiritual Life Center is one of the oldest spiritual spiritual life centers in higher education in America. We're actually celebrating our 60th year this year, and we're really excited to about the breadth of opportunities we have and the different folks that call us home. And so you may have heard more about from your Eagle about K Spiritual Life Center. You may have seen it if you got to be on campus. It's affectionately known as the Flaming Cupcake. It's on the head of the quad opposite of the library. It's got the labyrinth outside of it. If you haven't made it inside yet, there's a picture of what the main space looks like during one of our interfaith events. We are very intentional about creating space that everybody can use. And so we'll kind of go through the different offerings and the different groups that call K Spiritual Life Center home. I'm leaning into the Flaming Cupcake for this presentation because people are familiar with it. And so these are kind of the areas we'll talk about with K. The wrapper for their cupcake is the center itself, this 60-year-old building that has been home to so many folks. We'll talk about that and some of our spaces inside of it. The main part of what we do is our different partners. We have a sets of community partners, community volunteers, and registered student organizations that all call K home. And then the filling is a filled cupcake because it's got a little extra going on there. And so that is the kind of the core of what we do, which is the K Spiritual Life Center staff. And then the frosting is the programs. That's the part everybody likes to see. And then we have our sprinkles, which are kind of the extra things. So let's go through those different parts of the K Spiritual Life Center. I showed a picture there at the beginning of the main chapel. We have 4 other sacred spaces that are part of K Spiritual Life Center, which often don't get pictured. So beyond the main chapel, we have 4 spaces. Our Catholic Adoration Chapel, the Thomas More Chapel, the Dharmic Devotional Space, the Contemplative Corner, which is the one that's there on the right, and the Muslim Prayer Room, which doesn't unfortunately photograph well. But we'll have to find some good pictures of it. It's actually one of the oldest spaces we have in those communities. We're very proud to have those spaces for our different community members. And the Contemplative Corner is one we've created as kind of a neutral space for people who like to do mindfulness and meditation studies. But anyone is welcome to use K and our different spaces. The next part for us, the cake of the cupcake, is our community partners, our volunteers, and our registered student organizations. K Spiritual Life Center is home to over 2 dozen different communities that base themselves on belief or spiritual wellness or religion and faith. And so there's kind of a breadth to that. One of my go-to lines is that we literally have stuff from people from atheists to Zoroastrians. We really do work hard to find our resources and to connect your student to be able to find a place that they can belong. We think of that as kind of that vertical axis of belonging for us is if someone has a space or a community that they're part of, we want to be able to help plug them in and help find resources for that so they feel like they are rooted. We also work hard across, though, to give space for people who are spiritual but not religious to be able to explore these ideas, these beliefs, these understandings of life's larger questions, which is why we're very intentional to make space for everyone as part of K Spiritual Life Center. And then we also do interfaith and interbelief work. So we have specific events that happen throughout the year in partnership with our different groups so that students can also have an opportunity to explore outside of what their understanding is and get to know some other areas better. This is one of the best times in life, and those of you who are a little older know it's harder to cross those barriers later in life. You don't have as many opportunities. So we're very intentional to say anyone is welcome at any of our events. So if you've always wondered what it was like to go to Juma prayer with the Muslim students, they would gladly welcome you there. If you want to be able to go to the Mass with the Catholics or to jump in with one of the Christian worship service groups, we have all types of opportunities. Over the course of the week, we have about 14 different worship service and gatherings that happen in K. So there's lots of opportunities for folks from all different beliefs and backgrounds and social events. And then, of course, the big interfaith events that we have as well. The filling is the staff. There's 2 of us who are the full-time staff here at K Spiritual Life Center. That's me. And then Morgan Redmond is our associate director. Morgan is the place that she keeps everything running. She helps coordinate all of our different folks. She works really intentionally with our Inner Belief Bridge Builder program. She's really an amazing resource. And matter of fact, I've got more on both of what we do. So spaces and facilities, Inner Belief Bridge Builders for Morgan. Our programming, she helps coordinate that. Tea time is something you'll probably hear about from most students. It's probably one of our most recognized things, which is every Tuesday at 2 o'clock, people can stop by, get a cupcake and a glass of tea. Right now, we're out on the quad since it's so beautiful. And so if your student has a gap in their schedule at that point, send them over our way. We'd be glad to say hi. And then we also work with our registered student works. Like I said, we have about 12 of those who are part of our partnership. As the chaplain, as the university chaplain, I work through the Student Affairs Office to oversee K. I am an ordained elder in the United Methodist Church. American University is affiliated with the United Methodist Church. There's no requirements for that for any of our students or staff. It just helps us understand who we are, what our values are, and how we want to live those out. An important value for us is making other people feel welcome and that they belong. So we live that out in what we do here. Folks will see me at university ceremonies and services. So especially at commencement, you'll see me at those things. And then I also oversee religious accommodations requests. And so for those folks who are looking for a little extra help or support, I'm glad to help them. And then finally, I'm one of the confidential resources on campus for folks who need somebody to come and talk to. Programming that K Spiritual Life Center does, we do a lot of food. I already talked about the cupcakes, which you can see in the middle there. We also do our Inner Belief Dinner Series, which is again a space where you can experience the new ways, a new program or event outside of your own tradition. So we'll do a Diwali dinner, we'll do a Vesak dinner, we'll do an iftar. So those are really fun for students to come, and again, in partnership with our students. Our first one this year is actually going to be a Dia de la Muertes. So that'll be coming up here at the end of October. And then we also do a Soup with Substance, which is a more intentional conversation program with me sitting down exploring topics with folks on campus. So yeah, so I didn't get to get into the sprinkles, so that's the last little piece. We've got a university gospel choir. The gospel choir is home here. We've got a cappella groups who meet here. We've got all types of student groups who come through here. We really love being able to make this space, use it as much as we can. Tonight is one of those nights when we've actually got Mass is just finishing up. They'll start dinner. Upstairs will turn around. The Quakers will have their meeting. Um, and that's a pretty normal night for us for 2 or 3 different services in 2 or 3 different spaces. So please encourage your students to just stop by. If they see me on campus, I'm pretty easy to spot. We'd love to have more interaction with them. If they want to find any of these offices or any of our resources, or if they're looking for something we don't have, we have lots of folks we know in the community. We're glad to be a resource to help them find a place to belong and connect, and then hopefully to get them to explore and figure out what's next for them.
Thank you, Chaplain Eric.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got our amazing Danielle Kuhn from the Center for Student Belonging. Danielle, please dive in. Tell us what's happening in CSB.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here this evening. I'm excited to be here with you and to talk to you a little bit about the Center for Student Belonging, also lovingly known as I was going to say CBS, CSB. My name is Danielle Kuhn, and I am the Associate Director with the Center. I'm responsible for education, dialogue, and training, along with all support programs with the Center. I'm happy to dive right in and tell you a little bit about what we do. Okay, so the Center for Student Belonging, we asked the question, are you looking for a connection? And for you all that's here on this webinar, we ask you, is your student looking for some connection? Because if they are, the Center for Student Belonging is a place where they should start. The center serves as a principal leader here on campus for cultivating and fostering a place where students can find connection and community. So what does that look like and how do we do that? The ways in which we do that is that we focus our work on education, outreach, and advocacy. So when it comes to education, we focus a lot on workshops and trainings. So those are workshops and trainings that speak to self-identity exploration. It speaks to your heritage, and also just providing a space for you to learn a little bit more about how to navigate certain spaces on campus. We also do trainings for our student leaders and then also for staff that are student facing. Next, we also offer our dialogue across differences, but really it's our intergroup and intra-group dialogue sessions that are hosted by our CSB Peer Educator Academy. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in another slide, but just keep that in your head as we move along, that dialogue is a real way that we foster education as it relates to belonging on campus. Self-advocacy, this is where we teach students how to advocate for themselves. As you all may know, it can be difficult transitioning into a new space in your life, and you're not always too sure about how you should speak to a professor, how you should navigate talking to your peers or other peer leaders. And so when you come across something that is challenging, we help students to advocate for themselves, or we advocate on behalf of them if it's something a little bit larger than the scope of being a student and having that academic and life balance. Next, we do outreach. So that's community building. That is student support. What that looks like is a lot of our programs are in partnership with our registered student organizations or other departments on campus. And this allows for our center to expand across our division and really reach all students across American University, because our goal is to ensure that all students that come to AU recognize and understand that they belong here. And so that is the gist of our center and what we do. Okay, here is a little flyer, a little handbill for you to scan. And this way you can have this on hand to know a lot more about our mission, some of the programs, some of the signature programs that we do. Your student will be familiar with the NSO dialogues. This was a mandatory program that they had to do during orientation and welcome week. They may know about our connection socials or attended some of those. And then you'll see some more of our campus-wide programming that we do. So go ahead and scan for your copy of this handbill. It's easily accessible on our Engage along with our Instagram. So to talk a little bit more about some of those programs and signature programs that you saw, this is to give you an idea of how we do belonging. How do we create spaces for our students to connect and build community? And really what that boils down to is making a friend. You know, sometimes coming on campus, you're the only person there, coming from your city or state or your small town, or you have a lot of only things that you may be bringing, that your student may be bringing into the space. And so this allows for them to find connection and activities and educational programming and some fun events. So you can see here some of our upcoming CSB events. We have Impact Dialogue Circles, which are really going to have a great twist of fun this year, where we're doing like an Uno tournament. You'll do the tournament along with having dialogue. The whole point is to take out a lot of the intensity or the stress that may come from navigating and speaking about difficult or challenging topics or themes. We have Pride Inside Week, where we celebrate our students and LGBTQIA+. All students are welcome to all of our events. We also have something called Rooted in Culture, which is a Heritage Monthly celebration, where all throughout the academic year, we are celebrating a heritage in some sort of way, shape, or fashion. Then this year, we're doing our first Mid-Atlantic Regional Institute. This is an institute that will be held at American University, but we are inviting students, staff, and faculty from across the Mid-Atlantic region. So that's New Jersey, DC, Maryland, Virginia, to come and be a part of the institute and to learn a lot more about how to navigate higher education as we go through so many of the changes that we go through just in general. And then last, we have our first Gen Palooza, which is a great opportunity for our students, for all of our students to come out on the quad and have a great time with carnival games and snacks and just a way to connect and have a good time. Here you'll also see our logos. I want to draw you all's attention to this because this is how your student will be able to identify us and identify these programs. We're always going to have these logos out. So if you want to take a photo of this, or I know that Samantha's probably sending out these slides, that you would be able to tell your student, look out for these things and try to attend some of these events. And then last thing I want you all to know is that we have a newsletter that we do every other week. And this is a great way for your student to know what we're doing, when we're doing it. And then also in this newsletter, we come up with some great free events to do in DC. And so they may not want to do everything on campus all the time, and that is completely understandable. So we provide some very free events that they can go to and have an opportunity to explore DC. I'll also put in there that we provide programming and events too, where we go out and explore DC as well. So have them to engage with us on Instagram and sign up for our newsletter. Here are all of our wonderful team, professional staff. We are small but mighty, and each of us has a portfolio that speaks directly to our students and ensuring that they have the resources that they need. And so I'm putting this there so that you all can tell your students that we are here to support them. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Danielle. There's so much action and so much jam-packed into each of these slides. And I'm so glad that, we have kind of invitations to learn more even after this evening. I'm going to put a reminder. Please feel free to put questions into the chat. We'll hold them towards the end. We're going to now queue up our next presenter, the wonderful Sam Easby from the Center for Student Involvement. Yes, and the technology is going to work on our side. Yes, success. Thank you, Sam.
Sorry, everyone, for the technical difficulties. Transitioning from presentation to presentation is not always my forte, so thank you for bearing with me. Like Samantha mentioned, I'm going to be talking briefly about the Center for Student Involvement, and about finding your community here at AU. So, my name is Samantha Easby. I'm the Associate Director for Fraternity and Sorority Life here at AU. Fraternity and Sorority Life at American University falls within the Center for Student Involvement. So all of us wear many hats, and we're able to talk about all different functional areas within our department. So just kind of what is the Center for Student Involvement? We really are the hub for the student experience at AU. CSI is home to student government, recognized student organizations, so clubs, undergraduate clubs and graduate clubs, student media, so everything from our radio station to literary magazine, fraternity and sorority life, and our graduate leadership council. We are really dedicated to leadership development, organizational advising, and programming that helps foster a sense of belonging on campus. And the other thing that our office does a lot of is a lot of individual programming. So we have some great pictures here from our Pups and Pumpkins event, which is always a big hit. I mean, who doesn't love to see animals dressed in costumes on the quad? And then the picture below is from the Student Involvement Fair. Our office does all of the Welcome Week programming, including the Student Involvement Fair. And then just to quickly talk about some resources that your student can utilize to really get the most out of their AU experience. So the big one that we always promote is Engage. And I'm sure you've heard about this many times. Your student probably has as well. But Engage really is a great place for your student to explore their options here at AU, figure out what clubs and organizations are about, and then also they have the opportunity to directly contact those groups through Engage or through student email. The other great thing about Engage is that it hosts every single organization's event and departmental event on campus. So when you log into Engage as a student, all of your events, just like the picture here, will pop up that's going on in that day. If you've RSVP'd to a particular event, it will pop up at the top of that, just reminding you that that's happening today. But realistically, when you log into Engage and look at the events, we have honestly sometimes 50 to 100 events in a day, depending on how busy it is. But you'll see groups that are really active, whether it's having organizational meetings or hosting large scale events that are on the quad. When your student logs into Engage, they can also search through all of our organizations on campus, whether they're student media, fraternity and sorority life, or any student club. Each of these groups do offer, each of these pages also offer contact information. So if you have a student who's interested and wasn't sure how to get in touch with people, there is a primary contact listed so they can contact that student directly to get more information about that organization. So just to dive a little bit deeper into each of our cohorts, fraternity and sorority life, which is the cohort that I personally manage, we currently have 25 Greek letter organizations on campus that fall under three distinct councils: our Interfraternity Council, Intercultural Greek Collective, and our Panhellenic Council. We typically do informal recruitment in the fall semester, and that's for transfer students and upperclassmen. We do practice a deferred recruitment model. So that means first year students are not eligible to go through the recruitment process until they've received 12 undergraduate hours. So that would put them at January. So we do a big formal recruitment process in the spring semester. Just some important highlights with fraternity and sorority life. We do have a GPA minimum requirement. So if your student is interested in participating in primary recruitment in the spring, they do have to have a 2.5 cumulative GPA to participate. For primary recruitment in January, we open recruitment registration in October. And it's also important to note for Panhellenic recruitment in particular, your student would have to come back early from winter break to be able to participate. Our intercultural Greek collective, they do their recruitment processes semester by semester. So there's not a formal recruitment process like the other councils, but they do host recruitment processes every semester. And I know that for Fraternity and Sorority Life, we will have a webinar later in the semester to talk about all things FSL if your student is interested in joining that community. And then our AU Club Council. So we do have a lot of student organizations on our campus. We have over 200 currently active clubs, which is amazing. It gives a lot of diversity and a lot of breadth to what students are able to join. Students are also able to start new clubs and organizations if they are don't see something that they're excited about, and that also goes through our office. There is a process that students have to follow for that, but it's all explained on Engage in our website, and we do post about it on social media as well. Our AU Club Council is a group of students that applies and is selected to kind of oversee the clubs and provide funding and support to all of the student clubs and organizations. So they provide the funding for all of these organizations, and they also provide leadership development. If your student's interested in running for AU or applying for AU Club Council, pardon me, they do have to be a second semester first year student. So they have those same requirements that I mentioned for fraternity and sorority life with the 2.5 GPA and have the 12 credit hours as well. But it's a really great opportunity for your student to work with other students, gain some experience with financial stuff, and then also, being able to work with different organizations. And then these pictures are just some of the things that we do on campus. We had a really great event on the quad where we brought some fun events, which all of our students really loved. And then we have our Student Activity Council. So this is the student-run governing body for all of our programming boards. Here at AU, we have 4 programming boards. We have our Kennedy Political Union, which focuses on bringing political speakers, really putting on events with a political lens. Then we have Students for Change, which is a programming board that focuses on advocacy issues. Our student union board does kind of the big festivals and concerts. And then Spirit and Traditions board is really focused on bringing spirit and tradition to AU. The Student Activity Council oversees all of them, mentors them. And again, if you want to be on the Student Activity Council, you do have to meet those requirements that I mentioned previously. However, if you're interested in a particular programming board, those are open for first year students. AU Student Government, they provide advocacy for the AU student body. They also provide educational programs to connect the students with the AU community, administration, and their peers. And they also provide town halls and open forums for students to express their issues. They typically you can run to be a first-year senator in your first couple of weeks on campus. They also have executive level positions, and those are typically selected in the spring semester. And I think I covered the big breadth of CSI. We do a lot of really great programming. As I mentioned previously, our office also does a lot of different programs and different activities. So we also, when you go on Engage, we'll be hosting a lot of different events. Like I mentioned, Pups and Pumpkins is a big one. Really, that one's my favorite because then I can bring my dog to campus. So that's just a personal favorite, but we do host a lot of events, and we're also open to student ideas and suggestions for those events.
Thank you so much, Sam. There's so many amazing opportunities for students to dive into, both at Center for Student Involvement, Center for Student Belonging, and at Case Spiritual Life Center. There's a great question in the chat that I wanted to bring maybe for each of you to respond to, because it's about how do we get students who are new, who might feel a little homesick or might be still excited but unsure where to start. They have already heard from our departments and know some of the resources, but how do we get them? How do we help a student kind of get going if they're maybe uncertain or a little shy and reaching out for help? This family member says, "There's limited influence family members can have from afar." So, how do we encourage students? What is the way to break the ice for students? Not for the ones who have already joined 20 things, maybe for the students who are a little bit hesitant, who aren't sure. So, whoever would like to dive in first, because it might be a different angle from each of your teams.
I can start. I think one of the largest things that CSB does is that we try to meet students where they are. So some programming will be in the residence home, so we may have dialogues there, and they may just be walking by and decide to sit down. They don't necessarily have to chat or anything, but it's just a way to kind of open the door to them to start to participate. I will say that part of the transition of coming into college, there is going to be some room of discomfort in reaching out for support or help. I think part of the work that we're all doing is trying to get the student to recognize that asking for support is going to be pivotal in their career and throughout their lives. And so if we're not in the residence hall, another thing is to just stop by the center. And I know that that is like, well, what if they don't want to do that? They got to. They got to do it. They have to. And I will say this, there for our programming and with our center, we take away the stress by creating a welcoming space and one that doesn't pressure your student to do anything or to be any kind of a way. So if they come into the CSB space and they're like, I really don't want to talk to anyone, that's okay. They can come and sit at our hot top and just put a puzzle together. We have things like that available. We have rooms in the back of our center for students who just want to come and do homework in a quiet space, but also in a space where they can come out and see some folks, have a snack, drink some tea. So it's kind of a less intense way to be around others, to know that you do belong and that you can start to interact with others.
Would anyone else like to add on to that from the Case Virtual Life Center and Center for Student Involvement? Because that may be the same answer for the other departments, but maybe there are different ways for students to kind of dip a toe in the water, be kind of encouraged to join.
Yeah, I think all of us work really hard to lower that barrier as much as we can, right? It is tough for students to to feel like they can take that chance. It is an important skill, to be able to ask for help, to be able to advocate for yourself, to be able to reach out and, uh, figure out how to talk to someone who you may not feel a connection to right off. One of the nice things we have is all these different spaces where we create the offices that are like Danielle mentioned. K is the same way. It's one of the reasons we do the tea time. We get over 100 students a week at tea time, just dropping in, grab a cupcake, grab a glass of tea, maybe make some connections. You also see a lot of our folks tabling on the quad or in the student center. Those folks are just waiting around to talk to somebody. And so encourage your student to take a chance and to have that conversation. And if they're really struggling, have them take a friend with them and say, hey, I'm really interested in finding out more about this opportunity, but I'm nervous to go by myself. Let me go with somebody. And those are important things. And I'm saying that as both somebody who's on inside, and I also have a first year student who's on campus this year too. And so finding those, building up that small connection, but take your friends with you and go try something new and just try it out. And if they don't like it and if they leave quick, that's okay. but at least they're getting out and trying it. And so just encourage them to stretch a little bit. It's okay. This is a safe place to do it.
Thank you, Chaplain Eric. Sam, is there anything to add on?
I mean,
So,
I would definitely echo everything that Danielle and Chaplain Eric said. I think at AU do a really wonderful job of trying to create safe spaces for students to try new things. And this is really, the 4 years you do get to try pretty much anything, and see like what works, what doesn't, what you like, what you don't like. This really is a 4 year opportunity of exploration in a space where, we're also in DC where there's endless possibilities here. I would definitely encourage students to, you know, talk to us too. Like I promise we're not that scary, even though maybe to first years we are. We're always happy to connect with students who maybe aren't getting a response from a student group or aren't sure of what their interests are but want to talk it through with someone. We've all been first year students at some point, and we do understand and know what it's like and can help be that bridge builder for them. So we're happy to support. I would also say like our students are really great. Like, I know in a fraternity and sorority life, we have a lot of excited students about our experience, and they're willing and able and excited to share. So, when your student sees people tabling, they're out there because they want to talk to you. They're not out there just to stand there and look, just stand there. So they want to talk to you and they want to get out there and have conversation.
Danielle, you wanted to add on? I saw a little
Yeah,
hand up.
I'd also say, and I'm pretty sure that they'll be on one of these webinars, but the well-being center too. And I know that that's kind of like a stretch, but I recognize that homesickness can really be something that stifles you and kind of keeps you in your room, honestly. So I wanted to just shout out the well-being center because they have several different ways for students to connect with them through the Mantra app, where they don't necessarily have to go in. They can use the Mantra app. And then also there are, I believe, up to 6 sessions that students can do to just talk about being homesick and ways to find support, even if they didn't want to like take that plunge just yet and they wanted to receive some one-on-one counseling on how to best do that, considering their own challenges or obstacles, that's a great place for them to start as well.
Thank you. Someone put it in the chat. Thank you all for your time and dedication to our students. Thank you for that. And there's a question that came in that I believe Chaplain Eric responded to, but I want to raise it for the wider group. The question was, how do I find the contact information for a particular group or student group to nudge my student? At which point maybe is it where we step back as family members and help the students kind of do their part? So how would you approach that question? I know Chaplain Eric might want to start, but how do we kind of help switch the kind of who's up first, who's teed up first on the project for something like this? How do we support our student, but how do we kind of support them and enable them to step forward?
Yeah, with our kids, with our children, with our families, like we really want to help. It's hard to see them struggle, but that is where a lot of the growth happens. And sometimes you might need to miss a call. Sometimes you might need to say, "Hey, I think maybe you go ahead and do this. I heard about this, but have you checked it out?" Right? Have you stopped by? Have you like really encourage them to say, what have you done? What steps are you taking? And affirm them that they can do it. It's a tougher space, but it really helps them learn these skills so that they have them going forward. So I would, it's a great thing to be a resource. But you have to let them kind of figure out what they want. I know that one of the amazing things, believe it or not, that happens to me a lot is when I am tabling at like a resource fair or something like that, um, I may get a lot more parents who are stopped by to tell me how great their kid is, but I may not see that child for a while. Um, they're figuring it out, and they're going to figure out what's important to them and what they want to get involved in. And so it's our job, right, to be a resource. And then for parents, it's our job to support and encourage. And so continue to help them understand what they can do, what they're capable of, and say, hey, yeah, I met these folks. They're really friendly. You should stop by and talk to them. You should check out their website. I think you'll find out just what you need.
Thank you for that response. Um, are there any hmm, suggestions for families to say, okay, how do I help my student kind of bridge the gap between what they did for their student involvements in high school and what it looks like? Are there kind of some questions that family members can pose? Because high school is not the same as college, as we've all referenced. And maybe there's a way to help students make the connections. Do you want to, what comes to mind is what I asked my students my children when they went off to college. Do you plan to continue doing insert sport or club or activity? Or maybe is there something you're curious about that you've never tried before? Maybe a prompt like one of those might be, that catalyst for saying, they might have soccer. I did soccer in high school. Yeah, I think I want to try that, club soccer. Or I've never tried this other activity and I don't know, but maybe I'll give it a try. So are there any other suggestions from the panelists for kind of a prompt or a, a nudge, a gentle and encouraging nudge?
I think some great support happens when, especially when a student is having trouble with approaching, is to ask, what's the challenge? What are you afraid of? What's the worst thing that can happen? And being able to walk that through with your student allows for them to kind of get rid of some of the angst, I believe. I know it happens when we have our time with students who come into our office looking for some advice or some guidance as it relates to just that. So being able to ask the question, what's the challenge? What's the obstacle? And not necessarily trying to find a solution for them, but giving them the opportunity to talk out why they're afraid or what's happening, because ultimately, as everybody knows, that is going to be, well, I just don't want them to say no, and we know that they're not going to say no. They want them to join and to be a part of, or they will give them the qualifications and the things that they need to do in order to become a part of a thing. So that would be kind of my go-to prompt, is to just be open and empathetic, not try to solve the problem, but to be a partner in solving the problem with your student.
Danielle put into the chat, your student won't know they can do it until they do it. So kind of that encouragement to get them to the cusp, the beginning, and then they'll move into the next adventure, jump off the cliff in the good way, maybe begin to soar, and that will have built the skills that they need for not just that organization, but even more, as Chaplain Eric mentioned earlier, building the skills now, a little discomfort, yet maybe some fun in the mix.
And the confidence.
And learning, confidence.
And building the confidence too.
Absolutely. Are there any other questions? I'm looking at the time and I want to be sure that we can capture any here. We covered some great topics. There's so much more to share. I did mention that this session will be recorded, so we'll be definitely, we will post that on our webinars webpage by the end of the month. So you can go back and take a look at the slides that are included, and also maybe even share with your student if they need a little refresher. But with that in mind, I see that we have kind of quieted down in the questions and the chat. And I want to say thank you to our amazing presenters, Sam Easby, Danielle Kuhn, Chaplain Eric from Center for Student Involvement, Center for Student Belonging, and Case Spiritual Life Center here at AU. And I want to say thank you all for joining us. And I think we will end our session now. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you on screen in the future.